All right, Jesse on Fire, welcome back to the channel. Now, we are going to talk about some crazy things on this video, okay? Also, you like my new look? And look, I'm looking right into the camera. I think it's important for you guys to be able to see right into my soul while I do this video, and you'll understand why very soon. But look, it's a new look. Do you guys like it? Cool. Anyway, so we're going to talk about Conor McGregor and the Paul brothers potentially fighting and how it's not that crazy, actually. It was crazy before. It's actually not that crazy now. And not because these guys, can fight. Partially that. But I'm actually going to lay out a compelling reason why this would be good for the UFC, for Dana, for, for basically all the decision makers. For everyone who actually needs to make a decision to put this fight together, I am going to put together a potential deal that will make sense for all parties. And look, I never do the hypothetical game unless I think, this is something that Dana would potentially do if he really thought it through. So that's what this video is going to be about. Now, before I get into that, if you like the content, subscribe and ring the bell. No other channel's doing things like this. Also, I have another announcement to make. So if you just want to get to the part where I talk about the Conor McGregor, Jake Paul fight, skip forward, 2 minutes. But I got some things to say real quick. So here's what I want to say. I am launching a new part of this channel, a membership part of this channel. And I'm going to tell you exactly why, okay? So basically, I'm going to launch a section that you can only get access to if you subscribe and become a member of the channel. Don't feel obligated. But if you do, you're going to get an extra 4 videos a week, minimum. And in addition to that, I'm going to go live once a week where you guys can ask me as many questions as you want. And I would imagine there probably won't be as many people on there, given that it's only going to be for members, okay? Now, the reason that I'm doing it, which will also shed light into what type of videos I'm going to do, is yesterday I did a video about Josh Fabia where I compared him to Elliot Rodgers. And if you don't know who that is, he is the king of the incels, okay? And I implied that maybe Elliot Rodgers, who was the virgin killer, had faked his death and come back as Josh Fabia. I thought it was hilarious. I thought it was really funny. 98% of the comments were, oh my God, I just died laughing. But one person said in the comments, you're going to get fired from your job from a video like this. And I said, yeah. And then I just didn't like the tone. I was like, this guy might actually legitimately try to figure out my real name and then try to get me reported to my company. I don't like how this feels. I'm not going to risk it. So I went ahead and took the video down as opposed to letting all of you guys see that. And when I did that, I realized I was like, I need to separate the audience, okay? Because there are clearly an enormous number of people who want to see me do Josh Fabia videos and make them die laughing and do negative comments videos and just overall just go off and make them laugh. And that's what this is going to be, okay? So I'm going to create a membership section where all of those, and I'll still do some over here, but the majority of my really hardcore videos where I can go extra hard now because trolls don't have any money, right? They don't have any money. They're not going to pay to come see me talk shit. But my fans and my best people will, right? And I'm not doing it just to make money. I'm doing it because I want to be able to separate the men from the boys. So that's coming, probably a week or 2. I'll have it all set up. And then you can get an extra. This is not going to reduce the number of videos I do either, but it is going to increase your access over there. Anyway, whatever. You guys get the idea. So now let's talk about this Conor McGregor and the Paul brothers thing, because I actually thought this through and I was like, this is really a good idea. Right? So obviously this hinges on Conor losing to Dustin, which I'm not rooting for that at all. I want Conor to win. It makes he's like Tiger Woods is to golf. Like if Conor's in the mix, it makes it more interesting. It's just that simple. But if he does lose to Dustin, what do you do with him? Right? He moved to 155. He beat Eddie Alvarez, and since then he's lost to Khabib and then Dustin twice. It's like, he's still like the most valuable commodity you have. But what do you do with him? What do you do with him? Just put him up against another 155 pounder and then just see, maybe he could put a run together. It's like, maybe you could do something better, right? And here, let me actually say this. Why do you think that Dana let Conor McGregor fight Mayweather? Anybody? Because he's never let anyone go outside of UFC that he had under contract. You think he did it because he likes Conor so much? I know he likes Conor, but you think that was the decision process? Was like, Conor's so cool. It would be mean for me to not let him make $100 million. No, okay? Here was the decision criteria. If we allow Conor to go fight Floyd Mayweather, will it bring UFC to a gigantic new crowd, right? Will there be a whole new audience that'll then come back over to UFC after that event, right? And that is why they did it. Now, whether or not that ended up being a net positive or net negative, I have no idea, right? But what I do know is that is what they were thinking, is the additional eyeballs and the additional engagement with people who are going to watch that fight, okay? So with the Paul brothers, I don't think that you gain anything by having Conor fight the Paul brothers in boxing. However, that will sell an enormous number of pay-per-views. Can you imagine if Jake Paul fought Conor McGregor now? Like, seriously, can you imagine how many pay-per-views that would do? Especially if they did it on a Saturday night instead of a Sunday. It would do enormous pay-per-views, enormous. And so Showtime obviously would benefit enormously if they did this co-branded event with UFC, Conor, and them. And in exchange for that, and why it would make sense for Dana, not just from a money perspective, is because what he would get them to agree to, if he was going to do this deal, is both the Paul brothers would have to fight in the UFC at least once. Okay? So you get Conor, you let Conor fight Jake or Logan Paul or both or whatever in boxing, and in exchange for that, and it's, in addition to the enormous amount of money that you make on the pay-per-views, you get the two Paul brothers to come over and fight in the UFC. Now, let me tell you why that matters, okay? This shouldn't be hard. And the reason why this is relevant now is because Paulo Costa, I don't understand. Why are these guys making so much money on YouTube? These YouTube guys, they're making a disgrace of the business. And even Francis, who's my boy, was like, Logan Paul just made $20 million to box. What are we doing wrong? Wrong question. Chael Sonnen answered that question correctly, which is they're not getting paid for boxing. They're getting paid because they have an audience of 25 million subscribers, okay? Like, you think that just because they're on YouTube, they're making that money? I'm on YouTube. Can I make $25 million to box, blah, blah, blah? Of course not. It's because they have an enormous audience that's going to follow him anywhere. So, remember the equation for why Conor was fighting against Floyd Mayweather? Remember? New audience? Do I need to connect this dot for you? If the Paul brothers fight in the UFC, that is a huge, massive reach into this new, young demographic that you don't have access to yet. These guys, they'll watch these guys do anything. And if you get the Paul brothers on a few UFC cards, they're going to watch that too. And then guess what they're going to do? They're going to get attached to the stories and they're going to start watching UFC all the time, right? So that's why it makes sense. It's about engagement. It's about one big event with Conor and the Paul brothers, and then it's about the eyeballs that you can grab and yank over to the UFC and keep them there forever. Okay, so fight with Conor and one of the Paul brothers on Showtime, and then 2 fights at least on UFC. And listen, you obviously handpick their opponent. I mean, and maybe even Conor. Maybe Conor's one of their opponents. Conor's not going to take him down. You guys are boxers, right? You guys are boxers. So what's the difference? Just because you can move your fingers around, it's still the same sport, still the same sport. So yeah, I mean, you put them up against guys that are strikers that are not going to take them down. You have kind of a tacit agreement. You're like, don't fucking take these guys down, man. Just bang with them. Let's see what they got. There'll be plenty of takers for that. So that is basically what I've got. I mean, that's what I got. What do I think would happen? I think Conor would win. I think Conor would win in any of those fights, right? But I think from a business perspective, makes a lot of sense. 25 million kids. Whoop. UFC fans now, right? Anyway, that is what I got. So if you like the content, subscribe and ring the bell.